Yo, what's good, everyone? Alex Trataros here with another Knicks episode of the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast. And with me is also my buddy, my cousin, pal, the man with the plan, the one and only, John Meleka. But before we ask John how he's doing, listeners, I need your help. If you listen to this podcast and you're not subscribed already, please subscribe to this podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, Alexa, Stitcher, you name it. We are there. If you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to give us that 5-star rating. And if you listen to us on Apple, please make sure to leave a comment. That just helps. We're also on YouTube. So make sure to look up Knicks, Jets, etc. period. No one writes out, etc. That's just wild. Make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you know when a new episode drops. When you watch a video, hit the like button, leave a comment. Oh, you've been leaving a comment on that Berman one that we just dropped. Woo, you all got some opinions about Berman, about the Knicks, about us. Well, we like it. We like it. We'll engage with you guys. We appreciate it. And while you're over there, we got another podcast, Winning Picks Weekly. John and video producer Greg, they go down the NFL slate. They talk basketball. They talk whatever, baseball, Masters. You need to bet. You need to put some money down on the line. Keep
Masters
things interesting.
Over, man. U.S. Open now. We got Spieth.
I'm just saying, it's all the stuff that you
Chip
cover,
talking
man.
spicy, bro. Chip talking spicy about Jordan Spieth. He's all over him right now, and then he starts sucking. Some interesting stuff I went in Picks Weekly, man. The NBA series going crazy. We need Alex on for the second round. It'll be good. It'll be good to go.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And the last and certainly not least, please make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We are there. But John, my man, how you doing today, bro? How you feeling? How you been enjoying these NBA playoffs so far?
I'm good, man. Yo, these NBA playoffs are pretty interesting. Like the coaching battle going on from series to series, whether it's how the Golden State is defending the Joker or what's going on, with the Celtics attacking Seth Curry. Like they were literally hunting him on every single play. So I've been really enjoying these series, regardless if there's been a couple blowouts. I think they're going to get closer, but I'm anxious about this Jets draft, right? I'm happy I don't have to worry about the Knicks. That's kind of fun. The Hawks got smacked. That was kind of cool. And I'm hyped with our guest today, especially because we get to talk some soccer on the back end. And we never get to talk soccer on this pod. Alex is allergic to it. So I'm hyped.
You already, yeah. Nah. Now, who knows? Maybe things will change after talking to my boy about the New York City Football Club. Don't worry. For all you soccer heads out there, we got someone on awesome. We got someone awesome on to discuss everything with us from basketball, soccer, you name it. This guy's got it all. With us today is my man. We go way back to a White Plains High School. My man, Jordan Griffith. He's done it all, man. He's worked for MSG. He's been a color commentator for the Westchester Knicks. He's worked for the New York City Football Club. And now he's a coach getting ready to be the next up-and-coming coach in the NBA. Don't worry, guys. We're putting that energy out there because he's going to be that one day. My guy, Jordan, how you doing today, bro? How you feeling?
Much love. That's the intro. I got to live up to that right there. Good stuff there. Alex, it's so good to see you doing your thing, man. Like you said, we years into this. We were decades into this at this point. But I'm really excited. Thank you guys for having me on, and let's talk it.
Yeah, man. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the Knicks first and foremost. We're going to save the soccer for the end because this is a Knicks podcast. But yo, man, what are your overall thoughts about the New York Knicks so far after watching the season, after a magical run that they had last year?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, I know Knicks fans are in a tough spot right now, and there's a lot of questions out there. I'm here to kind of preach consistency for the New York Knicks at this point. I just saw what in the last 20 years that the Knicks have the worst losing percentage in the NBA. I think they just came out with that as a tweet.
You are correct.
Yeah. Now, I mean, we get it, and I get it, and there's no place like New York. New York is the place. It's held to a different standard. But I think part of that reason is why the success has not been there. I mean, listen, from this group here, Thibs has been on a different page, I think, than the front office with a lot of things. But you have a young core. I have a great relationship with Obi Toppin. We've known each other for a while now. I believe in Obi. RJ Barrett, I think, could be a star. I think all the pieces are there. And if you look at like what Houston's done over the last few years and how they have this young group and now they're ready to go after a high draft pick and really make a push to be in a group of, 4, 5, 6 guys that they feel could compete. I think the Knicks are on that fringe with some of these guys that they have. And it's tough to think about it like that because we want winning, we want rings, we want championships, right? Not just the Knicks, but in every New York sports team. It's tough to think about that. But I think there is something here with this group. And if they can just have a real great draft, maybe get a little lucky with a few, balls falling their way in the next week, There's a core here that can win, and there can be winners in New York if they stick with it. If they're going to press the reset button and blow things up again and move guys, I don't think that's the right path right now.
Jordan, I feel you, and I agree with you, but here's the thing, man. That's exactly what the Knicks did this offseason. They were like, yo, we finally did it. We finally have a good squad, so we're going to keep it consistent. We're going to re-sign D Rose. He's going to be good. We're going to re-sign Noel. He earned it. We're going to, basically max extend Randle. You know what I'm saying? We're going to run it back. And then here we are. You know what I'm trying to say? And like, you're talking consistency, but what is consistency for these New York Knicks?
Well, that's the thing is we think about it as fans over a large amount of years, and the consistency hasn't been there. But if you look at this front office and the group that they have in, Thibs might not be. I mean, I don't know. It goes both ways, but because he's loyal to his guys, he obviously brought his guys in these off seasons and wants to roll with them there. But what he's been talking about lately and some of the rumors that have come out, that he's regretting not giving Obi more minutes and regretting these type of things. Maybe he's fallen into line. But to me, the NBA always period point blank comes down to players. Right? Do you have the players that can play? You can have great coaches, you can have great front office. It's do you have players that can play? And, Bill Simmons had, as his book came out, Isaiah Thomas had that statement on there. Everything about basketball is everything to do but basketball, right? The team that plays its best will win every game in every sport. If you're a great three-point shooting team and you're a better three-point shooting team than a team that can rebound really well, whoever does what they can do best is going to win games, period. And I don't know if the Knicks know what they did best, at least for the first half of this year. I think with this young group, with a run and gun kind of approach, I think it could be there. They're still a player or two away. But like I said, I don't think, Randle definitely has to be handled. I don't know, if his future is with the Knicks. But with that younger core of guys, they seem to be on the same page. They're saying the right things. RJ Barrett can take the leap. Right? If you can run with them, like I said, I'm a big fan of Obi. I think he can be, the best, a great third guy, right, in an organization that really can lead a team to a playoffs. You just need that next guy there. And if they can get that in this draft, I think the path is clear.
I agree, man. Like I look at this team, I see a lot of youth on this team. And I'm not a Knicks season ticket holder, but all the season ticket holders and all the guys who are on the beat, they got that email from Leon Rose saying that they kept preaching youth. Like we have a lot of young guys. We have all the, like, it's so much about the youth. And it was kind of like in passing where they mentioned some of the veterans that they have, whether it includes Randle, Noel, D Rose, and all that. So to me, I'm trying not to read too much into it because you know how front offices just kind of like to, they put on the facade.
What year is it?
It was this year that he wrote that. This year that they wrote that. Gotcha, yeah. Just making sure. But I kind of like am slowly buying it just because from this last draft. If you told me after we watched Obi Toppin and Emmanuel quickly, I would have said, no way in hell is this team going to draft 4 rookies. But that's what they did. So I have to think like if they're preaching youth, that they have to want to build through the youth and take this pragmatic, slow approach, which is kind of what's been so far. Like even the guys that they signed, it's no one crazy like Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, even though he got his extension, I still think he could be moved. There's no one on this team that's like screaming, oh, way like overpay. They're going to clog up the books and that we're just so highly invested in these guys. So I agree that I think they're moving in with the young guys moving forward. But you're talking about consistency. And I really just want to say this because everyone's saying fire Tibbs. Everyone's saying fire Tibbs. They don't like the rotations. I've been one to complain about the rotations. I've been one to say that I did not like that some of the young guys didn't get more minutes out there as well. What are your feelings on Tibbs, man? Because when you talk about consistency, people look at the coach. And some people are ready to get this guy out of here.
I think you answered a lot of questions that you had with statements that you made. I mean, I think the answer for me is this was not a year where even drafting the young guys, and Leon Rose, I think, has done a great job of scouting young players and understanding who to bring in. This was not the year to go chase the championship. I don't think that. But you have a coach in Thibs who wants to do that all the time, 24/7. If you had recognized this year, and honestly, they're I think they're 11 projected pick right now. But if you had burned this year a little earlier, and figured out that young guy rotation and let them take some losses, you could have fallen into a top 5, top 7 pick and really, really then got a guy. And then, like I mentioned, Houston right now, I think has done a great job of just amassing young talent. Green is a spectacular athlete. They got all these little pieces. If they can go out and get a top 5 banger pick right now, they pretty much have everything they need to not only go and make a run, NBA wise, but then to make a run at free agents and other guys. And like, will you give us a piece here? We can compete here in the West, right? The answer is to get all those young players, develop them the right way, and then take your shot with a superstar. And I know, Kemba was, I guess supposed to be that. But again, all these little pieces, they didn't add up to this. Needed to be a year that you burn, you give the young guys looks. And I think the Knicks kind of knew that. They got into a way better run, I think, than they expected with some of those guys. And all of a sudden then, right, had to kind of make a push for playoffs. It falls apart late. I think with these young guys, if you can go out and get that star guard or whoever it's going to be out of this year's class, it's doable. The question is I think if Thibs is not going to buy into that, and if he's not going to recognize that is exactly how we're approaching this year, he's not a guy that's going to burn another year, and he's not a guy that's going to coach soft right at any time. He's a great coach, defensive coach. He knows what he's doing. But if you're not, as an organization, ready to go after it like that, I think the result was this year. So I think you have to see what happens in this offseason. If you get the stars that you want from a college level, who knows? I mean, they got a 2.0% of getting the first pick. But if they get a top 3 pick and they can actually go get somebody who not only can play, but they need a winner. Because if you look at this group here, they have guys who can play, guys who have been stars for a while. But have they won, right? I think RJ Barrett then went out, Elite 8, which is great for Duke, but that's not really what, I think they were expecting. You need a guy that has been a straight up winner that can go out and ball. He can connect with Thibs and you can roll with Thibs. If that's not what you're getting and you don't get that kind of opportunity and you don't have a free agent who's ready to come in and kill and win right now, then I think you got to go in a different direction.
It's funny you mentioned the soft coaching of Thibs. Karl-Anthony Towns came out after the last playoff game. They were talking about, how are you able to last all these minutes? He's like, I'm pretty sure I did this with Thibs. We're good to go here, so I agree with you. And I guess the issue with Thibs buying into burning the year is if that were to happen, then he would have to have assurance from the front office that if I'm burning this year, then it doesn't count against me. And I don't know if the Knicks fan base, I don't know if, even the Knicks players would really roll with that, right? Because as much as it would be a, quote unquote burned year like you're talking about, a player like RJ Barrett, he's got to start winning games. You know what I mean? He can't go year 4, year 5 of just losing. It doesn't work. And the Evan Fournier signing, okay, let's just call that a bad signing. Fine. My issue is, what are you going to do with center now, right? You're talking about this offseason. You're talking about the star guards. But let's not mince any words. Like, if you look at the NBA playoffs right now, the best teams have dominant centers and defensive centers and or big fours that could play defense, and we don't have that. So my question to you is, what are your thoughts on Noel? He didn't play this whole year, but he's still under contract. What are your thoughts on Mitch, who is looking for a contract? And you're the Westchester Knicks guy. I know you're before his time, but what do you think about Jericho Sims?
Yeah, I think these are all great pieces. Are they the solutions? None of those guys are going to turn into any of the guys that you're talking about in this playoffs, right? I don't think, they could grow to be, quality starters, even guys you can rely on, but they're never going to be.
I'm looking for Clint Capella, bro. I'm just looking for Clint Capella. Okay. I'm not asking for, I know our limitations. I wish we had a real center, but if we could just get Clint Capella out here on our squad, I'd be pretty okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, if you put the pieces together, that kind of player definitely works. Let's not get twisted. There's not that many Clint Capellas out there, even though I don't think he's a superstar by any means. Yeah, those guys can play those pieces, but again, I think you have to wait this next week and a half. You have to see, obviously, how the lottery plays out and who you're going to get a chance at. If you can get a chance at a top 3 center, big coming out in the top 10 of this draft, then maybe you look in that direction. But I do think the guys that you mentioned can all play that role. The question for me is if you're going to build a young group, and let's say RJ Barrett takes another leap forward and becomes an all-star, right? RJ Barrett, a solid center who can finish dunks and get rebounds and blocks. What's going on with Randle? You give him the extension, but then obviously he's not happy, and obviously this process hasn't been. He says he's willing to buy in. I think you have to really see in this next 2 weeks of offseason between draft, where you fall in the draft, who you can get, who can fall to you, and so on and so forth. And then free agent wise, that is one place where New York still does have an advantage of having the hype and the buying into, this is a place you want to come play. And even with the Knicks on the other side of town, right, playing well in their star power, I think that also just helps the Knicks attract other stars as well. Who's going to be the guy to go against them? So again, I mean, it's the same thing every single offseason. And that's why I think you got to give Rose a little bit of this leash to like trust, maybe not consistency with coach, with Thibs not the answer, but to trust like the front office to allow them to kind of work some of that, the mojo that they've had at other places in the past. Randle does have to be addressed, though. I don't know with the way things have gone, if that's the guy, especially with the way that he wants to play.
All right. Well, you keep mentioning like draft, bringing some young guys that are hungry, and you are a coach. You do coach at Stepanak. There are two guys who played in this March Madness that you coached. You got RJ Davis and you got AJ Griffin. Do you think either one of those guys, because they got AJ Griffin go pretty high, 6. I mean, the Knicks would have to get lucky to get up that high. But RJ Davis looks like a guy that could be somewhere in the range for the Knicks right now. I don't necessarily see him in the lottery from like what all the mocks are having, but he's definitely a guy that's going to be coming out for this draft. What intel can you give us about those two guys right there? And are these the guys that are the solutions for the New York Knicks?
Absolutely. So I've coached at Stepanak in the past. Coach Pat Massaroni has done a spectacular job building that program up, man. I mean, it's one of the best programs in the entire country. If you are a basketball fan and you have not gone a CHSAA matchup between Stepanak and one of the big boys, you are missing out, because they play for real. I'm no longer coaching at Stepanak. I'm coaching at my old school, but I did get a chance to coach RJ. I've been around AJ for a while now. You're talking about those straight winners that we mentioned. And I'll be quite honest. I mean, AJ Griffin is a freak athlete. I mean, he is literally born to play in the NBA. It's in his blood. His father, NBA guy. Multiple family members will be pro athletes. He checks all the boxes for somebody that could be a superstar in this league. You talk about like a guy like Scotty Barnes this year. Oh, he falls. So I think he was a little bit later than expected, but and all of a sudden he takes the lead. AJ Griffin is 100% capable of that. Like you said, they got to get a little lucky to get to him, but I mean, he's a guy that can really play alongside one of his Duke brothers there at RJ Barrett. I think they would complement each other really well. The way that AJ can shoot the ball, attack the basket, and play defense. He is as close as you can get to being a sure thing in the NBA from a guy. I'll say that for AJ Griffin. RJ Davis is one of, if not the most special players that I've been around. I've known RJ for many years now at this point, and that boy can ball. He is a winner in every way, shape, or form. It surprised nobody to find out that he was leading a team to the national championship game this year, and really a half away from taking home a title. He has won in every single point in his career and his entire life. From 6th grade, I was at the tournaments. He won all of them. He knows how to win games. And like I said, I cannot speak highly enough about both those young men, but RJ Davis is a winner. And whether it happens for him this year, he had a statistical season that doesn't hang up with some of the top guards through the midway through the year. And then he goes on an incredible run to end, this season, leading UNC to the title. With that run he had, if it's not this year, then it's next year. But he is going to be a star in the NBA. Mark my words.
Would he be a star on these Knicks?
Oh, absolutely. I think he can fit in really well. Quickly they got to find out what they're doing. And, I really liked what I saw from him late in the year at times. Let me tell you this. I mean, and it's no disrespect because it's crazy to say a college kid who's not there yet. But RJ Davis would win the starting job over any player, I think. Unless you're talking about an uber star. I think if you're talking about an uber star, Damian Lillard, he's not taking Damian Lillard's spot. But if you're talking about there's a competition, RJ Davis has done it at every single step of his career against Jose Alvarado back at Christ the King, against Isaiah Washington's in college now, cooking guys, scoring in big moments. I have great confidence that unless you're talking about an uber star, RJ Davis could win the starting job on an NBA team.
Oof. All right. You mentioned IQ. You mentioned IQ. Let's just stick with IQ for a second. Do you think that he could become the starting point guard of the Knicks? Forget Davis for a second, but in general, can IQ be the starting point guard?
I think from what we've seen, if you give him the minutes, he can develop into that. But again, that's why I know we mentioned that burning a year. I didn't mean burning a year for this upcoming year. I was talking about this past year was supposed to be the burn year. And that's why, sure, I mean, D Rose, that's great. And it was a great story. But in the long run, what impact did that have for the Knicks? If you had given quickly those minutes the entire year, could he have developed into that for this season? I think so. And I think that when he got the minutes late in the year, he showed it. So the answer is like kinda. I don't know if it's like if you just tell him here's the keys, if he goes and leads this team the way that you want right away. But him having minutes can't hurt at all. But again, that's why it comes down to this draft and this offseason. Sure, he might not be the guy if you can go out and get one of those top guys that they're talking about, Ty Washington, or one of the monsters. If you can go out and get a guy that has that pedigree there, then maybe you don't go in that direction. But like I said, is if something else comes along the line and you end up with another uber athletic small forward can quickly lead this team, I think over time he can develop into that.
Okay. Well, we talked about pieces, right? Like we do have Cam Reddish on this team that the Knicks did trade for, and we talked about AJ Griffin, who would be an awesome, like I agree, he would be an awesome wing. Just like watching him in March Madness, insane athlete. Love everything about it. Do you think Cam could help fill that role next to RJ? Like, do you think he is capable of doing that for this team?
So that's one of those things is like, of course, at all times, politics come into it, but I got a chance to spend a lot of time around professional teams now. I've been pretty fortunate in a few different places. When it comes to basketball, I was around the Westchester Knicks a lot. You got to trust the guys that get paid lots and lots of money to make decisions that they know what they're talking about in practice. Like I said, I've definitely seen situations where like, okay, so-and-so, they're just doing them dirty because of some politics, agent or whatever. But for the majority of the time, like if a guy can go do it and go get it, most of the time they go get it and go do it, or they get moved on. And I think like practice is so vital when it comes to a sports organization. And unless you're in practice, unless you're seeing the day-to-day, I am always very hesitant to challenge how come so-and-so is not playing more and so on and so forth, right? I would trust Thibs and his resume over my opinion in those situations. So the fact that he hasn't gotten that time, Reddish, he hasn't seen that, there's got to be some reason for that. But I mean, he was a great college player. I think he can be an NBA player for sure. But again, now we're talking about like 5 or 6, maybe what about hims? Yeah. As opposed to like 2 or 3 yes thems. And that's to me is if you don't have a yes, then you probably are looking for one. And the fact that we haven't seen that from some guys makes me think that those are the areas that the Knicks would probably want to improve on. Quickly being one of those guys, even though we did see him later on in the year. I think if they can go above his head, they will in a heartbeat. But if he can get the minutes and develop, then of course, Reddish, same kind of thing there. Some of those bigs that you mentioned, like I said, is, Mitchell Robinson, I think is a guy, injuries have hurt him. But I mean, could he be a starter in the league? Absolutely. Are the Knicks going to give him the minutes and the leeway to allow that? That's up to whoever the coach is in a month.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's pencil in Obi at the 4 because Randle's gone and he's been dealt with. All right. Okay. in your words, we're
already in fantasy world. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like Randle, something has to happen with Randle. If he started, honestly, if he's the starting power forward, I would be shocked at this point. Like I'll put that out there. So let's just put Obi at the 4 and let's put RJ next to him. Like, what is your 1, 2, and 5 that's going to get this team into the playoffs?
My legitimate answer to that question is you cannot make any determination on it until this draft, because they're projected to be 11 right now, but have crazier things happen, especially considering it's a New York Knicks, wink, wink. Could they get a top 4 pick? That conversation is tremendously different if you're talking about a top 4 pick than if you're talking about looking for a star at 10. But once again, I mean, if you go through the, history of all-stars, there are many guys available in lotteries and beyond. So, Rose has shown, I mean, the top end pick, right, I think is a win at this point, right? RJ Barrett, even though I don't believe that was Rose, that's a win, right? So if you can get another win here and say that you have 3, then that's where you can fill in and build. So is it going to be an elite point guard? Is it going to be that other wing player, small forward, the AJ Griffin? Is it going to be an elite center that you don't have to worry about for the next 10 years? Whatever that third one is what you find in this draft. And then that's when you fill in other pieces. And then obviously, with the free agent market, that's possible too. But as much as I want to give credit to those guys for their young picks and stuff, the
free agency, you
gotta give them, the contract decisions
it's all good.
have not been great either.
That's fair.
That's why go draft. At this point.
That's fair. That's actually really fair.
Yeah, no, for sure. So let me ask you this, Jordan, because you're more in tune with the basketball world. Do you see that next point guard in this draft for the Knicks, or do you think they should more so go obviously it depends on draft position, but do you see that point guard or do you see that wing from this draft?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on where you fall. I'll be honest. If the way that the Knicks lineup is, I think unless you can get a number one pick, which at this point I don't even know if there's a consensus, where you're going with the number one pick right now. If you're the Knicks, are you taking Chet from Gonzaga? I mean, he's a
that'd be a player. That'd be a little confusing.
Yeah, I don't know if that fits. So you do really got to sit in. Like I said, I think Ty Washington is a guy that is right there and that people can really, really, kind of.
You think Ty is that guy?
I think again is for the Knicks, maybe not. I think he's going to be a great player.
Yeah.
Could be a great point guard. For the Knicks, maybe not. I'm not. I mean, honestly, like I said, I think the Knicks would be fortunate to take AJ Griffin. And then I think it would be a really great story. I think the way his tournament went for him, people soured on him a little bit.
Yes.
Because he was basically a top 5, almost guaranteed. Now I don't know if that's exactly where he is. Something silly could happen, and I think that would be a wonderful pickup. I think with RJ Barrett, AJ Griffin, and Obi Toppin, you have a 2, 3, 4 right there that is on the path to being a playoff contender at some point. And then you fill it in with who do you go after in the preseason? I mean, can you flip a Dame Lillard somehow? Maybe you probably don't get your draft pick at that point, but that's the thing that kind of changes everything. That's the guy. And you look at what happened with CJ McCollum and his, pathway to now being a star in the playoffs, right? Yeah. Those are the type of moves that you're going to need to push for if you're not going to get a superstar draft hit.
So Jalen Brunson doesn't do it for you. Tyus Jones doesn't do it for you. You don't want any of those guys coming near this team.
I mean, I would take those players overall. I just think you got to be really smart. I think you have something solid with RJ and with Obi. And I think you want to complement that if that's what you think the future is going to be. Definitely with RJ. What happens if Zion actually becomes available? Then are you throwing the book and doing all that? That's what I'm saying is those are not things that I want, but are you going to tell me that the New York Knicks are not going to do that? I think they would in a heartbeat. Because it's not just about winning either. It's about making.
If he doesn't sign if he decides to be the first human being to not take the Supermax, and then he wants to come to the Knicks, I mean, you have to pick up the phone. You're all right, this guy's crazy. Let's pick up the phone and see what's up. But if we're trading real picks, real assets for Zion, that's just I mean, if you can give him Randle for Zion and move on, I'm good to go. But I still don't. It's still a conundrum. Now you're creating the Zion Obi issue. It just doesn't solve anything. It's fun. Trust me, it's fun. I was there when Obi dropped 30 on us, in overtime and his only game in the Garden. It was fun. And, we won the game, so it was okay for me to say it was fun without anyone killing me. You know what I mean? So it would be lovely to have that, 41 times a year. But that, to me, screams highlight package and losses. That just screams 25 lost seasons to me if Zion's on this team. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Alex, what do you think about Zion?
And by the way, Zion can sign the contract and then force his way out. You can ask Paul George. You can ask any of these guys.
But then I'm out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but then I'm out. We cannot have Zion Williamson on the Knicks with a Supermax extension. That's a terrible idea.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
but again,
yeah. That's I don't even think Leon would do that.
No further comments.
You're looking at it.
Oh man.
So are you mad about the offseason? Are you mad about the offseason?
Mad?
this what this is about? Like, is that why you're soured on Leon Rose? Let me frame it to you that way. Is this why you don't trust him? Is because he had a terrible, free agency signings in this offseason?
I don't think I said that at all. I think Leon has done a great job with the younger draft picks and his scouting department.
Yeah.
I think the Kemba contract,
okay.
and like those things, those are backbreakers because like what do you do now with that? What do you do with Randle? I mean, that's why we're having this conversation. If Randle's not on that contract, then you can get him out of here relatively easy, or he can't complain the way he has. So like I know that you have to fill some spots, and I know there was a lot of momentum behind that. But was Randle the answer to pushing you over the playoff? I mean, it's not like, and again, that's why New York and the New York background has such an impact on that, because you've had a Carmelo Anthony, right? You've had these guys that can be elite carriers and scorers, and people like love that and want that, right? If, as a Knicks fan, right, do you want your team to go to the Eastern Conference Finals playing boring basketball? And like being no, I don't think you want that.
Bro,
you want Carmelo Anthony.
I will take the San Antonio Spurs Knicks for the rest of my existence if that meant making it to the Eastern Conference Finals and losing every year. I'll lose every single year. I'll go there. I'll lose it in my face if we play like the Spurs. But over
a superstar carry me year, the Garden is rocking, and maybe you could win an NBA championship, but you'll be bad for the next 2 or 3 years. Because that's basically what the Knicks have been for a while now.
I'm about to say we've been there, done that. Yeah,
exactly.
We've been there, done that with Carmelo, bro. We had the Carmelo year, the 50 whatever wins. It was amazing. We had a great year. We sucked, and then we had the Randle year. Oh, it was fantastic. We're gonna do great things. We're in the 4th seed. We sucked, dude, and now we are not even back to square one. Like you said, we are negative. Like we have horrible contracts. We have injuries. We have question marks. We're talking about firing coaches. Like we are negative right now.
So you throw RJ Barrett for Donovan Mitchell. You're not enjoying the Donovan Mitchell experience?
I'm the crazy guy that's gonna hesitate. Like if you're Utah and you call me and you say, "Yo, Donovan Mitchell for RJ," I'm gonna be like, I know you like RJ. I know that's cool, but Donovan Mitchell, he wants RJ here. So I'll give you IQ. I'll give you Randle. I'll give you some picks. Like for me, I need to pair RJ and Donovan. That if you want RJ for like, what are you really gaining? Like I know he's better. I agree. He's better. He's more efficient. He can carry a team in the playoffs, but I don't see the ceiling for Mitchell to be worth it to trade for RJ. I know I'm crazy. I know I sound like a Knicks fan. I know I'm that guy that goes to every game. I'm with you, but for me, trading a 21-year-old RJ who can be cap friendly is just dumb for Donovan Mitchell.
I just think when it comes down to playoff basketball, the team with the best player almost always wins.
Yeah.
And if Donovan Mitchell's your best player, you can probably win a lot of series. RJ Barrett is a good player. If RJ Barrett is your best player, can he carry you to playoff wins?
What's the argument for Utah? What's the argument for Utah? They have real players with them, like real legitimate stars with them. They have good coaches, and they can't win garbage.
If they don't come out of the Mavs series here with a win, they blow the whole thing up. Yeah, they blow the whole thing up.
Yeah,
but even outside of that, what are they? But what are they? Yeah, but what is this? It's going to be the same. That's just a change of face for me for that organization, because they've been there to this point now. They really had the opportunity in the bubble, and they didn't end up pumping out with that. Now, when you're back in in these type of things, does this team continue to get better? Can you get over the hump? And I think if they don't get past the second round, I don't think they can. Maybe they don't trade Donovan Mitchell, but that they're going to make a big change if they don't get out of the second round.
Yeah, I agree with that they would just explode. Like they just blow up the entire Utah Jazz. I think I understand like the hesitancy in trading RJ, but I know it's not going to be the realistic, like, all right, Donovan for RJ. It's like Donovan and it's Donovan, RJ, and then the picks that's going with RJ, which is like the thing for me. That's just kind of like, we're doing this over again, and not necessarily it would be a mellow trade, but that's my fear. It's like, how are we building around Donovan? Who are we bringing in? Because the way that the free agency market is changing is that no one is coming through free agency, especially the good players. They're signing their contracts, making sure, and then they get traded. So if you're going to have to go through that market, that means you need more assets to trade for those guys. And I'm like, where are we? I guess I'm not that far like on the chessboard to see all of that, but that's like my hesitancy in making that type of deal is if we give up a lot of assets just to get Donovan Mitchell, then we're not doing anything for Donovan Mitchell except just bringing him back home to give him the same thing that he had out in Utah. And I want to see a chip.
Worse.
You know,
worse.
I want to see Chip. Maybe it'd be worse. I don't know.
This roster would be way worse than Utah. I mean, we don't have the defensive player of the year, not even close. We never had anyone even smell that. You know what I mean? Like that right there is a game changer.
No, that's true. That's true. But speaking about front offices, speaking about working for Madison Square Garden, the organization, you actually did do that, Jordan. You actually did do that. So can you elaborate so that all listeners know what you actually did for MSG?
Yeah, I do. I'm very appreciative, and that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to say some of the things that I should say once in a while.
That's fair. That's fair.
But for the first inaugural year of the Westchester Knicks, I was their color commentator. Had a wonderful experience. I got just some incredible experiences personally from being a chance to be a part of the organization. Announcing games on television was a blessing. Langston Galloway and I had a great relationship, which I still am close with him now too.
Let's go.
Westchester Knicks legend right there.
Yeah, I love Galloway. He was on that Pelicans team, right? That when I was there and I watched it, he killed it too. We were all cheering for him anyway. It was fun.
He's a sneakerhead too. Yeah, he does things with sneakers and stuff like that.
Let's go.
Yeah, he's keeping it going. But yeah, honestly, it was just such a valuable experience for me to see, the insides of an organization, how it's run, to see some of the synchronicity between the Westchester Knicks and the New York Knicks. I have a great relationship. Allen Houston's been very kind to me for a very long time now. But it's just like I said, it gave me the opportunity, and that's why I listen to fans and I listen to the conspiracy theorists who are sitting there figuring out why so and so doesn't get minutes. When you actually see what happens behind the scenes and the way that an NBA organization works, even if you don't think the Knicks are a great one, the kind of the preciseness, right, the effort, the mentality, and how important all those things are behind the scene to the success of an individual player, a unit of players, and then an entire team and an entire organization. It was a great blessing for me to be able to watch and experience all those things and kind of see a little bit behind the scenes of all those things that we wish we could do one day.
I know you can't go too much into detail because of you don't want to break what goes behind the MSG walls, but can you give us a little sample of what you're talking about, what goes into a player, the development and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously you have a staff that works incredibly hard, but within that staff, they have incredible roles that most people are not privy to, and how development, like Langston Galloway is just a perfect example of a guy who not only was, playing for himself, but then playing for an organization and working with, some of the athletic trainers, some of the physical trainers, some of the skills guys that they have working behind the scenes, and how they would take them and how a game would be approached sometimes, and not just for the Westchester Knicks, but even for NBA teams, to approach a role for a player, or to approach the way a player is going to approach a professional basketball game, with the mentality of then using them in a different spot later on. So they'll take a guy like Langston Galloway, and of course, you see, why is so-and-so not getting called up from the G League? There's a lot of those guys. They scored 40 points in a game. How come they don't get the call up? Because in all reality, it's not realistic that he's going to come in and checks the box, score 31 shots to score 40 points for an NBA team, right? It's and they have programs like Synergy, which is an incredible, it's a weapon if you can use it the correct way. But taking, how a player plays, when they come off of a screen, how they come off of, to the right hand, to the left hand, pull up, and then using that and helping a player develop those skills that they need, but then giving it to a coaching staff who they can use people to get into those actions in their offenses and in their, flow of a basketball game. That stuff to me was just truly mind-blowing to watch, them take a player like Langston Galloway, watch them work on stuff every single day before a game, then watch them use it in the game, announce it yourself, luckily enough, go and 2 days later get a call up, and go and actually do that in the NBA game in a big moment, or hitting a big shot because they prepared that way a week and a half ago. Those are the things that really are special to understand about what happens in an NBA level. And I've been around football for a while as well too, and it's just you practice something all week so that in one moment on a game day, it comes together for you. Well, that's exactly what we do with basketball. We don't think about it that same way, but you are prepping players and understanding, and you can literally pull up a sheet. Okay, I don't know, just RJ's at his best when he's going to his left pull-up jumper. How can we run a play with 8 seconds left, get on going to his left so we get a pull-up jumper, right?
Yeah.
That's the level of planning and processing that happens on a day-to-day basis.
Good Lord. That is intense. To even hear that, just like to hear the whole preparation, because us as fans, like we talk about it, right? Like we hop on the pod, we just say, hey, like, oh, why did he run this type of play for them? Like, why did he do this? Or like, why? Just like to hear that type of level of detail, like going into a player. And it's like, so if you're saying like a player's not showing that in practice, right? Like, is that like you're saying that is the reason they're not getting playing time? They're not working out, the mechanics are just not there. The mindset is not there. All of those like things that we're not seeing, that's the type of stuff that's preventing like a player from going forward.
Exactly. Don't get it twisted. Every NBA player could destroy 90% of the world in basketball. Destroy,
for sure.
Right? But that's in a free-flowing situation where I get to work on my best move and I get to so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Cam Reddish specifically, but Cam Reddish comes in the game, hits his crazy step back jumper. How come he doesn't get more minutes because of
Disgusting.
that? Well, that's not any, but that's not anything that the Knicks had in their game plan. It's not anything that they've been practicing the entire week. You made a good shot, great. But also let's pull up your true shooting percentage on those step back jumpers. Let's talk about like when we stop moving the ball through the fifth pass of our offense, how many points we score in a possession versus when we get the fifth or sixth pass in on the offense, how many points we score there. There's a stat, and I don't know the exact number, but a big time college did a stat, and they recorded how many times they scored in a possession versus when the ball touched the paint once versus when the ball never touched the paint. And it was almost 3 times as much success when the ball not took a shot in the paint, because that's obvious. You're going to take a layup versus a 3-pointer. Yeah. But when the ball just was passed and caught in the paint and then passed off of that, they scored 3 times as many times on a possession than when they didn't. And those are the type of numbers and those are the type of things that we don't always see. And at the end of the day, too, you can be wrong. What's great about the NBA is you can be as prepared as possible. You can put in all that work and you can be incredibly wrong for the group you have, for the fundamentals that your team is installing, whatever it may be, right? And that's why I stay away from so much of the analysis side of it, right? That stuff is helpful for what we're doing, but it still comes down to a coach who can put players in the right places to score and to a team that can do what they do better than the other team does what they do best. That is the only way. Every team that does will win a game in any sport. The team that does what they do better, the other team does what they do the best.
So then let's get back into your broadcasting and your analysis then. So how are you able to do that? Because now you see all that work, right? How are you able to transfer all of that to being like a play-by-play broadcaster then?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's why I'm not doing it anymore, because I got bored of talking about other guys making bad decisions. I wanted to make the decisions myself, honestly. But I'm a guy that loves to like analyze. I clearly like to talk. I like to, see these type of things. So for me, it was, I got a chance to start watching this in practice, and it became, I want to be at every single practice. I want to see what's going wrong. And that's the thing, is a lot of people, they look at a sport or they look at what's happening and they think that their opinion matters versus just seeing what's happening and taking that information to help themselves. And you know what I mean? Like, yes, you can be right about guessing, who's going to be the better player and so on and so forth, right? But like the entire experience of watching that and then being able to use that information to help yourself is really what kind of drove me away from broadcasting. But for me, when I'm on the mic, right, obviously I know I can sit there and talk about all day, getting to the nail and really technical terminology that would not really click with the average fan. For me, it was then difficult to like be sitting every single day in practice and knowing what play they're about to call, right? And then trying to dumb it down a little bit. And that's kind of, to me, was where I said, hey, I want to start coaching. I want to start doing this instead of watching other people do it.
All right. Give me a favorite player of yours that either made it or didn't make it. Right. I know that there's a couple of fan favorites out there, like Wooten never, we would watch Wooten highlights every single day. And then at the end, he didn't make it. There's those types of guys. There's the fun, dudes like Trier when he was getting some minutes, like even McBride, like right now. I know, I'm asking you about your days, but
Kadeem Allen.
Kadeem Allen. I mean, there's so many guys that just, they flash for us and we get really excited about them, and then they just kind of phase out. Are there any guys that really, are on your radar there?
On my radar? I mean, I have a lot of guys that I'm fans of in the NBA overall. I think it's probably pretty telling that not many of them are Knicks. But let me think. I mean, honestly, I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Obi Toppin. His younger brother Jacob played on my AAU team, so I've known him for quite a while. I think he just does so many things with his motor that really attract. That's the type of player that I was, and that's the type of player that like I enjoy watching. Just a guy that like doesn't really stop. And if you're talking about like PJ Tucker is an example of a guy like that, where Marcus Smart just congratulations, defensive player of the year. Like those are guys that like to me the most impressive thing, because you watch. I mean, they always say good D, better offense, right? It's if you're a really good NBA player, like it's really, really tough to stop somebody from scoring individually. And then as a unit, those are the type of things. I love defense. I love watching defense. So guys that can like stay in a stance over screens and force you off of your line, those are things to me that like just get me going. Like that's the stuff I love to teach and coach. Guys that can stay in a stance, that can beat themselves over a screen, guys that switch. And when you watch an elite NBA, and just at any level, NBA, college, high school, I've been part of some really great high school basketball games. When you have 5 guys on defense who are showing strong side, strong hand, right, recovering, helping, rotating, like that to me is poetry. That is the most exciting thing that I can think about in basketball, because obviously a guy can dunk from wherever, he can shoot a 3 from 50 feet away. That's awesome. But a unit like getting together and locking down, and quite honest, I mean, Thibs was the master at that, and that's why I'm also hesitant to be like, oh, he's not a good coach. He might not be right for this group, but can Thibs win an NBA championship in the next 5 years with the way he coaches defense? Hell yeah. Are the players there is the real question. But to me, defense and watching a unit just straight up strap it up, seatbelt, lock in and get it done, to me is the funnest part of basketball.
You're speaking John's language over here. Like you're legitimately speaking John's language.
This is it for me. That's why it sucks to say out loud, but I love this Boston Celtics team. Like I hate everything about Boston in every way, shape, or form. It helps that they're playing the Brooklyn Nets, right? So I can at least have that. But dude, I've been watching this Boston team since January. They've been unbelievable. Like I have the league pass on. I watch them, and I'm just like, dude. I tell Alex, like, I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I know you live in Boston. I'm telling you, they are unbelievable on defense. I think they're gonna, get maybe stagnated by the Bucks. So my last question to you is, how do you think this, regarding the basketball, how do you think this NBA playoffs is gonna end?
Yeah, man. Like I said, I always go back to the teams with the best players usually win the series. Period. So in all, I think right now I have the Phoenix Suns beating the Brooklyn Nets in the.
Wow. That's wild.
I think
you got the Brooklyn Nets making the finals. Holy
cow. I think Kevin Durant just played terrible, and they lost on a buzzer beater after 3 horrible offensive possessions in game 1. I think that when Kyrie Irving is playing the way he's playing right now, he was out of his mind in that game. He was like he was on a Kobe level, and that that's his guy. Like that's where Kyrie is right now. I don't think that if Kyrie and Kevin Durant stay healthy, I think it's been anybody that's played with Kevin Durant, when Kevin Durant and their group has stayed healthy, has won a championship. If you realize that, right?
This is wild. This is wild, man.
I got the Nets. I got the Nets winning the championship, man.
Honestly, if you're listening to this and you're a believer of Jordan and he's got you on his side, go and take them to win the series. Go and take them on the series betting. Go and take them to win the Eastern Conference, because you'll make a boatload of money right now. They are plus money everywhere.
I got the money down. Don't worry.
I'm about to say. But that's how you're feeling. I got the Nets plus 1.5 on the series betting. You can check out Winning Picks Weekly, and I'm nervous about that. I'm like, all right, we need a game 7. I'm starting to get a little nervous. If they lose game 2 and 3, I mean, it's gonna be tough. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, because that's the 2 at Boston and then the 1 back in Brooklyn. Like if they're not able to scoop that up, or Boston gets steals one of the Nets games too, it's going to be over. So
if you want a gambling tip, I think Kevin Durant has an all-time banger performance in this next game
2. Yeah,
I think he goes crazy.
The thing is, man, we talk about defense, we talk about coaching, we talk about how in NBA playoffs, that's what gets exposed the most. Best player wins, and the best coach wins. And the way they attack Seth Curry, and the way they completely neutralized Drummond, it was unbelievable. And so unless the Nets, like unless Claxton becomes, Draymond Green overnight, which is possible. He could play like Draymond Green because he's gonna have to be that stretch five, and they're gonna have to roll it, and Seth Curry's gonna have to somehow play defense. I mean, Kevin Durant could legitimately score 50 and they could lose. That's the whole thing here. That's my mentality. Kevin Durant, yeah, he could score 50. Tatum could score 30, and Boston could win. And if you tell me Marcus Smart is not gonna be the most hyped human being on the earth in game 2 after what he did game 1, after, especially on the last play, getting the defensive player of the year from Gary Payton, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a really interesting game 2. Alex, I
think Kyrie and Kevin Durant are excited to torch the NBA Defensive Player of the Year in this next game.
Fair. That's fair.
I can agree.
I'll tell you this. I've been around NBA guys. They are drama queens to the fullest. They think about all that stuff. They love that. They're like, oh, he just won Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to give him 35 tonight. Like that. Mark my words.
And that's why this league is so much fun, man, because everyone's like, oh, you like to create narratives. It's like, well, you also create the narrative where you say you want to go out there and go do that. But I think Kevin Durant's going to have that type of monster. I think it's going to go back 1-1 after this one. I think the Celtics got a good one. I'm still a little bit more confident in the Celtics winning it. I think it's going to be a 6-7 game series, but
if Nets win game 2, it's going 7.
Oh yeah, Nets are winning game.
If the Nets win game 2,
you sure? It might not go 7 either.
He's gonna go. Oh my god, this is crazy.
I'm just telling you right now.
I don't care
man.
either way. I have no either one.
If you look
I
at
like
Kyrie,
for them to both lose.
If you look at Kyrie and Kevin Durant and what they have accomplished with another superstar when those superstars are healthy over the span of their careers, right? I think it's to me, like I said, I did make that pick. I had Suns Nets before the playoffs started. I obviously could be wrong, in this next week here. But like I said, they have 2 of the top 5 players on planet Earth right now on their team. I think they win.
I agree. It's just the rest of the team blows.
Yeah,
blows. Like Bruce,
they were
Bruce Brown had a rough game. He had a rough game. Yeah.
Like Bruce Brown has to be,
and he was talking spicy, and he was talking spicy after that last one, after the Cavs game. He was talking
playoff
spicy.
Horford. Like it's a tough. I agree. Kevin Durant and Kyrie. I won't say a word about them, but I think they miss Joe Harris. I'll just leave it at that.
Ooh, Joe Harris.
How about the West? But, the West? No,
the Suns.
I got the Suns.
Yeah,
it's the Suns.
I got Suns.
They're a machine, bro. That team is a machine. They're like Pelicans. Sure, they made a nice little comeback. That thing is a machine. They're a machine, bro. They play the true prototypical. They're built like a prototypical basketball team. Like from point guard to center, everyone matches the heights. Everyone plays a position like they're like a prototypical basketball team. It's beautiful to watch. It's true. That is truly poetry in motion watching the Suns play. That is the beautiful game of basketball.
My spicy take is Golden State stinks. That's my Western Conference hot take that would blow people's minds. I think Steph Curry's hurt. I think Draymond's also hurt. I think Clay is not 100%. And once games start mattering, not game 1 of the playoff series that you've been excited for and waiting for. No, talk to me in game 6 when there's the gaps are way less in between games, when you're traveling back and forth, when coaches have seen you now 5-6 times. You as a coach, what that does. Us as NBA fans, we know. So for me, it's going to be Suns Bucks again. I hope it's more fun than last year's finals, even though it was okay. But Chris Paul walking out of the sunlight, the owner, they're gonna kick the owner out, right? Devin Booker hopefully gets his MVP. It feels very poetic. The rematch, they got the script back. I'm hyped about it. I've been smashing that Phoenix Suns button. So just as you are hot on the Nets, I'm hot on the Suns.
Kyrie and Booker. Kyrie Booker, those are the Kobe muses, right? The proteges.
Yeah, right there. Yes.
I don't know. Something to that.
That'd be a great matchup. That'd be a great matchup. But the one I want to add on is that I see Memphis coming back and torching Minnesota after I feel like they're come back with vengeance.
Minnesota's a good team.
Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards
is
a superstar.
He is him. Anthony Edwards is him.
I have a question. Does this make Karl Anthony Towns expendable?
Well, I think this is a great group that they got here. I think that they roll with this for the next few years. I guess you could. Why would you? Cat is playing well. He can shoot the ball. He's a matchup problem in all places. if Anthony Edwards takes another leap this year, there's absolutely no reason why they can't compete for a championship. And they could this year. I don't agree with you. I got Minnesota winning that series. I think that Minnesota could get
I'm just talking about game 2.
Problem.
I'm just talking about game 2. I'm just talking about game. I think you're coming back out for game 2 for vengeance, just because I think Ja is going to be that type of guy that just wants, you talk about storylines, you talk about like what happened. He's in his feelings. We watch him on Twitter. This guy's going to come out and try to make a show.
And Triple J got rocked. He's got to have some sort of pride here.
That they were
there was like 6 bodies in that game. That game is crazy.
They were calling some weird fouls on Triple J that game. They were calling some weird fouls. I'll just say that. But let's get into the last topic for Jordan before we get him out of here.
Yeah,
you're wearing the hat.
The good stuff. The good stuff.
You're wearing the hat.
Stuff, yeah. The
championship. New York City Football Club championship. You were there for the championship too, man. Like I
was 10 feet away from the game-winning penalty kick. It was a blast.
Crazy. You also were you holding the trophy too?
Yeah, whatever you need, I got all of that.
Saying, like, this guy was
I'll say this. So my family is originally from Boston. I grew up at a young age, a Boston fan for most things. Obviously I lived in New York. But to me in general, I've always just been like a sports fan, like basketball, football, baseball. I played all 3. I just love watching, and like I was never a diehard anything like that. I rooted for teams, but maybe the Patriots at one point, but I was never. Once I got to like of age and I was trying to make the NFL and NBA myself, I kind of stopped rooting for anybody and wanted to. Obviously, I got a chance to work for the Knicks. New York City Football Club, NYCFC, is the first thing that I truly feel is like mine. Like I said, is even outside. I didn't live near my favorite team for a long time. I worked for a team, right? It was great. This is like mine. And for the last like 8 years, I was one of the first 50 season ticket holders. And I was on the field holding the trophy when they won their chip 8 years later, 7, 8 years later. It was a blast. And if you're into the Garden energy, show up for an NYCFC playoff game. Show up for an NYCFC game in general at Yankee Stadium. It is rocking.
Yeah.
There's a parties everywhere. And I just took a video on Twitter. Check it out. _ Jordan Griffith. You can see like they score goals and it is a banger. It goes off.
They're literally in the bleachers too, which is even cooler. Dude, yeah. I was at the inaugural game, Yankee Stadium, because like soccer runs in the blood of my family, right? Like my dad played, my grandpa played, my dad still watches every Egyptian soccer, league game. We watch like Liverpool. If there's an Egyptian in the English Premier League, we're watching that game. You know what I mean? So we've been Liverpool fans for quite a bit.
So, a monster.
So when NYCFC came, we were like, we gotta get on board here. So we also brought in Pierlo, we had Villa, we had Lampard, right? So we're all hyped together here, and they sucked, right? Like they were so bad, and we were like, like what are we doing here? Like just another Red Bull when Red Bull was bad. Like why are we doing this? MLS stinks, right?
That hurt when you said that. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. I'm just saying that's how that was the perception, right? When we first opened, but now look where we are, man. I mean, as NYCFC, we won a chip, and not only did we win a chip, we beat. I'm so happy you said you were from Boston. I didn't know that. I'm so happy because we beat the Revolution, who was the best team in MLS history, right? To get there. Like, just tell us about the vibes, man, because everyone's still going to say New York, we haven't won a chip in X amount of years. Like, tell us about the vibes of NYCFC, man.
No, the vibes are there. And like I said, is if you're into this, like as you said, if you probably had an experience with them in some way, shape, or form, especially early on, and they had all those, star players. They have flipped the switch so crazy now. And they've actually had a player from the team, maybe not each, but multiple players the last 5 years who have left NYCFC and gone and had tremendous success in Europe at the highest level, the highest of the high. Jack Harrison is a star for Leeds right now. Yangel Herrera, Man City had Angelino, who started for NYCFC. They have a guy right now, Tati Castellanos.
Let's go.
He won the Golden Boot last year, led the league in goals. He had 4 goals yesterday. No big deal.
Was he snubbed last year? Was he snubbed MVP?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it was a weird year, and he definitely it was a low year in goals. So even though he had the most goals, there wasn't a lot. He should have been the MVP. I mean, he obviously won a chip when he did.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, man. He will definitely be playing against your Messi, your Neymar, your Mbappe, whoever it is. He will be playing against them and scoring goals against them in the next 5 years. He's that good. They have flipped the switch crazy. They have young South Americans from all over. They've got great talent from Europe. This is probably the most complete team that New York City overall has had in the last 5 or 6 years. And that's not an exaggeration. The games are 100%. Fun. The parties are there. They're playing games this year in Yankee Stadium and Citi Field. So if you're at Queens, you can go right out to Citi Field and check the game out there. The atmosphere is legit. The Queens loves to show out for those games. I think they're playing 4, if I'm correct. And then all the other games at Yankee Stadium. It's a party. It's a great atmosphere. You can bring the family. But the energy is everything that you want from a Knicks game, from a Rangers game. It's matched at Yankee Stadium.
Woo. Selling me to go down there and watch. I'm not even a big soccer guy like that. Woo, doing a good
job. Get Alex to go to NYCFC game. I'm being hyped.
I got front row season tickets, Alex. Here's an invite. Come on down, man.
Let's go. So let me ask you this then. Since you've seen like the entire history of like New York City Football Club for like the onset and then for winning the championship, and you were covering it too. What was that experience like, man? Because if you're covering it, you were doing broadcast for like Westchester, you're doing for Westchester Knicks, but now we were talking about, the G League was a developmental league, it's all that, but now you're watching like the pros like go from like woof to greatness. What was that experience?
Yeah, no, like I said, I've been extremely blessed. I've had such great opportunity to be where I have been. I had the first podcast ever for NYCFC. That's a straight fact. Mm-hmm. I was one of the top 50 season ticket holders. And I started covering the team, not even like, it wasn't a business decision for me. It was like an opportunity for me to help, and to help grow the game. And then in general, I just wanted to be a part as close as I could to the action. So like I said, I got a chance to be on the field last year. They won in penalty kicks in an incredible game. Yeah. And I'll tell you too, I've been to a lot of sporting events. I played in a lot of sporting events. I've been to, in the MLS Cup, Portland scored with about 10 seconds left in the game. Yes. And the stadium was louder than any stadium I've ever heard. I mean, I've been at some big football games, playoff games, stuff like that. It was as energetic and as exciting. I think soccer is going to explode in the next 10 to 15 years. They have a golden age of young players right now for the U.S. men's national team, led by Christian Pulisic. But Gio Reyna, he was an NYCFC product, actually, even though
I know. What do you think about Gio, bro? You think he's all right? You think he's going to make it back? He just got hurt again.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like he's probably done for a significant amount of time. I don't know. As long as he's back for, September or whatever, not October for the cup stuff. But, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, they have young guys. They have superstar potential. They have a starter for Chelsea. They have a starter for BBB. They have starters from all around the world at this point. The opportunity is there, and it's kind of crazy if you think about it. I mean, soccer in America, you're talking about maybe the 4th or even 5th best athletes overall who actually want to play for it. At least that's been the case for when we were growing up, right? I mean, basketball and football, baseball, and maybe even hockey, right? I think a lot of kids would go to those directions before they went to soccer in the past. That is not the case anymore. Soccer is exploding. Obviously football is never going to decline, but some of the questions that people have had about football and concussions and stuff have changed people's minds. But the soccer numbers are exploding through the roof. The U.S. Youth national team and a lot of the programs are doing incredible and having incredible numbers, right? Soccer is on the rise. And the more that success happens at the worldwide level, I think the more success we'll see locally here in New York and all over.
Yeah. What was he's slipping my mind now. What was the German coach for the USA? What was his name? I forgot.
Klinsmann?
Yes. He was torching us, right? He was torching the MLS. He was torching the USA, the youth squad, the youth program. And we've, made leaps and bounds. I mean, we're like 15th in the world. That's the USA's never been ranked that high. I'm pretty sure. Definitely not while I've been alive. Right. So we are getting somewhere. And
soccer is so crazy, by the way. I don't know if you guys know. Like, you can sign kids when they're like 11.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, that's anywhere that you want. Like, they bring in players from all over. Messi, like, people knew Messi was good at like 7 years old, and he like just disappeared. Like, nobody knows where he was for like the next 6 years, and then he pops up as the greatest player in the world in the entire club.
Yeah. Like, that's the craziest thing That's the craziest thing about it's like you
corrupt as
literally
hell.
get
It's
coached.
great. Sick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know all about corruption, man. So
Yeah.
like I was
There's like games, teams will win like 35-3 in some places. You're like, that doesn't make any sense, you know?
Yeah, dude, Africa, you can't bet on the games.
Yeah, you can't legally, you can't because they know that everybody's doing some on the side, you know?
Yeah. So I know we're keeping it light and we're positive vibes only. But can we get into this year? Can we get into NYCFC this year? I mean, the CONCACAF was tough. I was really hoping that NYCFC was about to, play Al Ahly from Egypt. That would have been sick for me, right? Like my dad would have been hyped. Like we would have had a nice little clash there. Talk to me about that Seattle game. If you want to get into it, the second game was tough, man.
So like I don't want to bash. Like I'm a huge NYCFC. Like that's my squad. I said they belong to me. The no stadium thing absolutely crushes them. Because they haven't had a stadium. They boxed themselves into, we're going to be New York City's team. We're going to play in New York City's boundaries no matter what. So now they're in a tough spot where not only one, do they have to play in weird places for some of their games because Yankee Stadium is not a FIFA official stadium. So they can play MLS, but they can't play championship soccer there for whatever reason. So not only does that hurt, but then because they have to balance their schedule with the Yankees, and the fact that it's obviously pretty cold here, and the stadium's not always, on that kind of track, they have to play an incredibly odd schedule. And especially this year. So you're asking, like, they were tired for that Seattle game. They didn't really have their best lineup in because they had MLS games surrounding it and stuff like that too. That is the one knock and the one thing that's holding it back. And hopefully Knicks fans, you guys can help it happen. Like a dope soccer stadium. I'm not talking about like, so I'm talking about a 45,000. Like if you look at the soccer stadiums around the world, like some of the best, if you can get say Barnabas, you can get one of these massive stadiums here, the energy can really, really explode. And that's the one thing. If they can figure out the stadium situation and get a legitimate consistency, this team could not be, I'm not saying they could not be the best club in MLS. They could be the best club in the world. And then I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. You look at like a PSG in French soccer. The French soccer is not spectacular. Yeah. They're just so much better than everybody, and they play and they win their league, so on and so forth.
Yes.
There can be that in MLS. You can have an elite, worldwide, successful team in MLS that can compete with other teams around the world, and there's no better place to do it than New York City, right? Best city in the world. You could have that kind of energy and that type of success here, and then you're watching a Ronaldo, you're watching Mbappe, you're watching Hovland, one of these greatest players in the world. If they sign with New York City, I mean, it's something that could be really special.
That's fair. Maybe they should. I mean, the whole, you hit it in the beginning with the NYC, constraints. Because if they went to MetLife, that's where international soccer is played, right? Mm-hmm. At MetLife, the 2026 FIFA World Cup Finals at MetLife. So I saw Messi at MetLife. They always have those away like tournaments at MetLife.
The one thing is soccer is not football. People come out to MetLife for regular season football games. Soccer, there's a lot of games. I don't know if that's correct. I just think they want it, and they don't even want it that. They want it in New York City because, like you said, they did the Jersey thing. Red Bull State Arena is one of the greatest arenas in the entire country. Like without
you wouldn't
doubt.
even know about it. You wouldn't even know about it. I even when I fly. And I'm like, oh, Red Bull, like that looks like such a sick stadium. How come I never go there? How come nobody even knows about it? There's not even
nobody wants to take an hour and a half PATH train or
what if they took the Yonkers Raceway and made that?
You're speaking my language. You're speaking my language. I think it's perfect. You can extend the subway a little bit. I've had this conversation on Twitter many times.
I've been asking, bro. I was talking to my pops about this. I was like, yo, move the Giants and the Jets to Yonkers Raceway. Call it a day. It's over. It's done.
Now, I don't know if it's possible now because I'm pretty sure I know MGM bought that entire thing. They're going to make their own casino and stuff like that. But that's perfect, though, right? Why can't you throw a stadium in there, too? Yeah,
but say the NYCFC MGM Grand Place. What's the issue?
Sounds great.
What's the issue?
Get some betting in and go watch some soccer.
Without a doubt.
All right. This is a little antiquated, but do you think that was a penalty versus Toronto or no? And opening the last game, NYCFC, it was a big controversy.
Absolutely.
In the 8th minute, we're riding here. We're riding NYC.
Oh yeah, I mean NYCFC has had incredibly bad luck with that. LAFC it was the LA Galaxy in the first game this season. There was one that clearly should have been a penalty stuff too. But the big story right now is Tati Castellanos found the goal, and now 4 goals in one game. Actually puts him the second in the entire league right now, all off of one game.
So do you think that they're going to be able to make a run here with Castellanos right here?
Oh my gosh, the one thing is Castellanos going to stay, and that's why I'm kind of pushing, right? I mean, there's rumors that by July he'll be in Europe already playing for one of the top clubs in the entire world. Man City owns New York City Football Club, and the rumor is he could go and be a backup there, and then who knows? Or he could go to. I mean, there were some legitimate offers for him this past offseason. They ended up holding him right now. Seeing it's very weird because America plays in our summer months, right? The windows are much different. So that free agency is actually right in the middle of U.S. soccer over there. So there's a potential he could move, but forget it. Tati Castellanos is out of control. Talis Magno is a baller. I mean, they got like 6 guys right now that are like legit. I mean, you want to compare it to kind of the Knicks. The Knicks have like a whole bunch of young guys and they don't really know where they fit. NYCFC has that problem because all of them are freaking ballers and they're legit. Like all 5 guys that got up front can play. I'm telling you, man, it is fun job.
I mean, they're really good. They're really good. I mean, I throw them on. My dad very critical of the MLS. It's hard for me to get him watch, but he put it on. I put on some NYCFC games because that's my squad. So when they're on, they play well, and he's critical of everything when it has to do with soccer, and he gives them some props. There is this thing that whoever wins the MLS championship usually struggles in the beginning. So there's that little bit going on. Let me ask you this: we got some haterade. I saw you going on Twitter about it. You got some haterade about the first banner for NYCFC. Right? What's going on with that, man? We get a ring. We get that little banner in Yankee Stadium. What's going on?
That was pathetic. It should be bigger than that.
Is that why we beat Utah by 6? Salt Lake.
That's that. They threw some shade. Yeah, that's one thing where, and the NBA is actually adopting this. If you've seen over the last 3 or 4 years, definitely. But because MLS is kind of trying to make a splash in places, you got teams that are willing to do some really cool stuff on social media. They're willing to talk that talk on social media, and you saw, like I said, one of the teams making fun of other teams and stuff like that. They have a great kind of approach to the way that they handle social and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the stadium, man. Like Yankee Stadium's cool, but NYCFC, they need their own stadium. Then we could put a banner up that takes the entire outfield over. They can do whatever they want at that point. Yeah. But that's been an interesting kind of development. The Yankees don't really want them there anymore right now, so they're gonna have to figure something out at some point.
And they got the money from Man City, and that was a big knock on them, right? Are we just the G League for Man City? But if Castellanos was going to Man City from NYCFC, like isn't that a positive at the end of the day? I mean, I hate Man City. I'm a Liverpool fan, but because of Salah left, who cares? But does that bother you? Like, what do you have to say about like the G League Man City stuff?
I mean, that was a legitimate question. Would not just NYCFC, but would the entire league become this league where every good player gets pulled over? That script has been flipped dramatically. Now, these players might leave to go over, but it used to be like, oh, we're going to steal this player or we're going to take it. Now, we have to throw $20 million at this young, nice team. And the way that the system works is they can then pull other great players from all around other places. Man City not only owns, it's called the City Football Group. They not only own NYCFC, they own Melbourne City, in Australia, they own an Indian team, they own teams all around the world, and they have this network. So like, it's at the same time, while they might take from us, they might take from a million places because they take from everybody because they're one of the best, groups in the entire world. But you're seeing guys, and like I said, Jack Harrison is a great example. You would have watched Jack Harrison. He was a draft pick. Actually, I think he was a homegrown, they call it. But he was drafted here, picked. He was a decent player. Then he had an incredible year where he turned it up crazy. Yep. Somebody saw him, picks him up, and now you can go watch him. He scores like 2 goals a game on Saturdays against some of the best players in the entire world. So you got an opportunity to be in with that, see that experience and come. And then you get these superstar players like Ronaldo will play in the MLS in the next 2 to 3 years, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe a little bit longer than that. It
For
could
LA.
be there.
Well,
Could
Messi,
be Miami. Could
dude,
be
Messi
Miami.
stinks. Oh,
Yeah.
Miami. With
Yeah,
Beckham.
Miami's a big one. Beckham has their thing there too. But honestly, if there's a team that can throw something at them, New York City is that, right? I mean, like if you're talking about Ronaldo wants to be the biggest soccer player in the world, Ronaldo playing in front of New York football fans for the next 3 years is a game changer. Any of those guys there are legitimate, potential superstars, not just in terms of soccer, but in terms of sports
Just
overall.
life. Yeah, just life. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
Then Jordan, just to wrap this whole New York City Football Club talk up, where do you see this team finishing this season? Do you see them repeating? What's the expectations?
I mean, the way that
What's
they're
the
playing
predictions?
right now, there's a little secret. NYCFC is basically unstoppable at Yankee Stadium. The problem is they don't really get to play there because of the way the things work out. Especially when it comes to later on the season, their MLS playoffs go right at the same time as the Yankees playoffs, and it's actually been an issue because they bounce back and forth and they have to move. But I mean, this NYCFC team they have probably the best forward in the league in Tati Castellanos. I mean, it's debatable, but he definitely is one of the best scorers in the league. MVP. They have 6 guys that can all be superstars at this level and beyond. They have an incredible one of the U.S. men's national team's goalies is Sean Johnson, who is our captain and one of the leaders. He won the MLS MVP for the championship game the past year. They have all the pieces, and they're like confident now. So I think, I mean, I'm not going to say they're the favorite, I believe, in the East right now. They might be the second favorite, but it's close. Yeah. But in my opinion, if they can get home field advantage, they'll win the cup again.
All right.
Have you been to road games?
They're solid in road games.
Have you been there? Have you been like to Atlanta or something? I
went
Atlanta
to Portland
was crazy
for the MLS Cup. Yeah, I went to Atlanta before. I've been to Orlando. I've been to both LAs. Yeah, I mean, it's not just NYCFC. Soccer is taking off in this country, and the energy is like out of control. There's parties.
Hear that, Alex?
I mean, I'm telling you, I mean, you go to the bars around Knicks, and it's fun before the games. You go to Yankee Stadium an hour before, and it is a banger. It's a banger. Like it's fun.
Alex,
We'll I'll go to a soccer game. You guys got to come over to a rugby game. How about that? Because Major League Rugby is a thing now, man. Rooney, Rugby United New York, baby. Let's go.
He's got a disgusted face, but we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll do it. Let's go. Let's go.
You just compared soccer to rugby, bro. Damn.
Hey, I played. I played that
was
4 years, man. Come on.
Yeah, I got it. No, it's not that. It's just soccer's got some momentum right now, man.
I didn't compare it. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
going to a soccer game.
Rugby's
you come
like
with me to a rugby game.
I'm down. Can I play?
Huh?
Can I play?
Hey, I mean, we can go find some mental leagues and go play, but this is a legit. We're talking about Major League Rugby, man. It's on the come up. Rooney's been doing pretty well last two seasons, second and third in the East in their conference. All right, they made a little push in the playoffs, but fizzled out. I
spent some time in Australia. Rugby plays no games. I could bang with it.
Yeah, I spent some time in Australia. Aussie rules, man. What a sport.
Yeah.
I know.
Wild.
I know.
Let's go.
I wish we had Aussie
rules. What do you? But since you're such a soccer head too, John, what are your thoughts on the World Cup? And we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most exciting, I think, time it has ever been for U.S. soccer in the history, probably, of U.S. soccer at this point. They're legitimate competitors. The group is broken out really nicely for them to almost definitely make the knockout round unless they blow it, which is definitely possible. We've seen that the last few opportunities, but I think this could be the start of something incredible if they can go. And if you look at the way it's broken out, they have a really successful / possible path to at least make that final four. If they can pull out one major win, it's obviously going to depend on what happens in some of the other groups. But if they can pull out one major win, they got a real chance at like really making some noise. And like I said, once the World Cup starts, the energy gets going. Pulisic is a top 20 player in the world, I think, at this point. He can carry. Reina, if he's healthy, we'll see what happens. But especially considering that we've all been kind of waiting for the World Cup, the cancellation and stuff like that. This is like it's kind of breaking all really well. You go put a great performance together in this World Cup, and then you get to host the next one.
Yeah.
things go crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
For high school, college, young kids all around the country.
Even MLS.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
Exciting time, man. Soccer's on the come up.
That's a good
All right. Looks like I start getting into this. I mean, my wife's little brother plays soccer too. Go watch him play. He's got
It's a big youth. It's a big youth thing, man.
Telling you, man.
He made a good point about the concussion stuff. I know there's like headers concussion.
No, that's a fact.
Issues coming up, but youth sports is dominated by soccer. You know, you get your
And
kids to go out there on the off season for basketball or football. You know what I'm saying? Run some laps. You know.
And let me tell you too, like if you're a basketball fan, soccer and basketball are very, very comparable as to the way that they're played. Right? You have dribble moves on the ball. Right? You play defense in almost the same exact way. You're trying to get shots off, especially good looks. Right? There's a lot of comparisons. It just obviously happens at a much larger scale. But if you look, I mean, you look at like guys now, even Luka is a soccer player. Joel Embiid's a soccer player. Like these guys grew up playing that. Like I said, it is a really nice time for soccer to kind of be weaving its way in and out of all the sports. And like I said, if you're a basketball fan, I promise you, you will have a blast at Yankee Stadium watching NYCFC.
All right, Jordan. Thank you for coming on, man. Truly appreciate it. Please let our listeners know where they can go find you. If you got anything on the up and on the way, like if you publish anything, please let them know.
Yeah, at _ Jordan Griffith on Twitter. I post all my stuff on there. I've been kind of making a conscious effort to like keep my opinions off Twitter, which is like the opposite of what Twitter is in every way, shape, or form. So I've been trying to like just kind of keep my stuff on a DL right now, but you can find me on there. And like I said, look out for me on the basketball court somewhere near you.
That's all right. Jordan, thank you for coming on, my man. Appreciate it. Appreciate
you guys. Had a great time. Alex, like I said, it's a pleasure to watch, man. We're decades in. And John, man, I like the swag, man. Let's get it sometime.
Let's go. I'm around, man. When Alex comes, he's been trying to get us to play some pickup together. So we'll get it going.
Yeah,
anytime.
Yeah. Jordan's about to whoop some ass if we don't play that. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm saying we'll have fun.
It's always fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I always got my kicks in the car in case somebody ever challenges me. So you see me out there.
I got my shoes, my basketball, and my knee brace all in the car. all three are always in there.
I got my basketball sneakers, got my cleats, got a soccer ball, got a rugby ball. The back of my car is a Modell's. Actually, I just took over Modell's. It's just in the back of my car. That's all what happened. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another Knicks episode of the Knicks, Jets, Etc. podcast. You know what to do. Please make sure to subscribe to this podcast if you've not done so already. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, Alexa, Stitcher, you name it. We are there. If you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to give us a 5-star rating. And if you listen to us on Apple, please make sure to leave a comment. We're also on YouTube. Type in Knicks, Jets, Etc. When you find the page, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you know when a new episode drops. When you watch a video, hit the like button, hit that notification bell. Make sure to watch the YouTube videos too. Come on. Look at these handsome guys right here. All right. Support it. Support the movement. Support it. Leave a comment, interact with us. Let us know your opinions. Now we have Jordan talking NYCFC. So make sure to leave it in the comments. And don't worry, Jordan's going to come back. John will be in there. Everyone will be talking. Don't worry. Everyone's going to, gather and just have their opinions and whatnot. And when you're over there, just check out Winning Picks Weekly. John, video producer Greg, Chip Murphy also comes on. They give you their takes on where to place your bets. So make sure to go check them out. And last and certainly not least, please make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another Knicks episode. We out.
Let's go Knicks.